Alan Quinlan, how are you?
Very good now.
You were listening to that last night going, I can identify a little bit with this.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. When you criticise your home team, or I did it with Munster, and you get a bit of...
Did people stop you on the street? I mean, in fairness, I'd say they're more likely to do it from behind a keyboard than in the street.
Yeah, I didn't actually receive any negativity from the public as regards, because I think some people maybe agreed with there was frustration there, like there is for Dahi and Offaly. And you're in a situation where people sometimes may assume that you're doing it for your own benefit, where you're not. You still want the team to do, you want them to do well. And that particular time when I criticised Munster, it was kind of like two fellas in a pub having a rant about their team, and I kind of forgot that a lot of people watching this, and it took off, and I took no pleasure out of it because I played for Munster for so long, lots of friends involved in the team and in the association stuff. So I can understand a little bit that he's now saying, this is not worth it, that I don't want to be there. And I've often felt like that I want to get out of the media after that part. I was kind of considering saying, look, I don't need to be here. I just want to live a quiet life and not be part of the picture and the limelight. And I genuinely felt like that. And I had kind of heated conversations with people who were involved at the time. And I tried to say, look, it wasn't impersonal, and it just came out. And if I had a chance, would I reversed? And kind of like what he's saying there, you kind of think, why did I do this? And am I better off just forget about it? You're alienating yourself in a sense from people a little bit. And so I can relate and understand a little bit what he said,
Yeah, but the right thing to do was to say what you said, wasn't it?
Well, if you passionately believe that you want things to be better and you feel that they're wrong, and that's what I did at the time, and I'm sure Dahi does as well, he's putting a lot of time and effort into his county and behind the scenes, helping young players, coaching, stuff like that, and he has a right to say it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's put on the jersey before, so you don't want to discourage people by administrators having the needle with him and, alienating him and turning their back on him. Not everybody will agree with you, and some people, I'm sure many people thought that I was too harsh in Munster at that time. Maybe the wording of some of the things I said, like he's talking about on Friday, and the content of what I meant and what I wanted to try and say, that look, this is not good enough. He's trying to say the same. It's not good enough for a county like Offaly to be where they're at and to slide so much. So I can totally understand what he means when he says, I want to take a step back here, and maybe it's the best thing to do. But we need him to talk.
Yeah, no, totally.
We want him to tell us what's happening and what he believes and feels, and that's just sport. And when you're the sports person in that bubble, or the administrator, you don't see and realise that the media, they promote us when we're going well, and there is a role to say, well, they got to clip us when we're not going back well as either.
Yeah, well, that's the contract that everybody enters into. It's not a real thing.
Yeah, so there's a balance in between there, you know what I mean?
Let's move on, because the World Cup squad is obviously coming into sharp relief at the moment. You picked a World Cup squad a year ago in the Indo.
It was in September, yeah, and there was a number of us, Rory O'Connor, Cian Tracy, Dave Kelly, Tony Ward, and most of the squads were similar, and any punter out there would want to pick a World Cup squad back then would get the vast majority of them. Question marks over some guys after the Six Nations, even our established players, but there's not a huge amount of change in my squad that I picked then. The two obvious ones are, I had Sean O'Brien and Dan Levy down there, and I was leaving Josh van der Fleer at home, which is crazy. And we've had conversations before about the back row depth chart that we had here as well. Phenomenal amount of players, but now you look at it and you take two of them out of the group, and it looks a little bit bare on the open side front, where you had kind of four guys, O'Brien, Levy, van der Fleer, Jordy Murphy, Tommy O'Donnell. There was five top quality open sides that we had a number of months ago. Now there's two of them are gone. And if Josh van der Fleer, the attritional nature of being a seven nowadays is, you're going to get a bang and knock. You're involved in so many collisions. You need a little bit of depth in that position, more so than maybe a 6 or an 8, because guys in those positions can be versatile. A 7 can play 6 easily. We've seen Australia do it so well over the years with Pocock and Hooper, and even George Schmidt and Hooper over the years. The other, probably, there's not many other positions, is there? that are up for grabs?
Scrum half, like so Conor Murray's going.
Yeah, I think.
Who else is going?
I think. I'm not sure if Joe will bring 3 scrum halves or 3 fly halves. I don't think he can bring 6 halfbacks. Again, you have a bit of flexibility with someone like Carberry.
Do you know? I think
if you
that
bring a third fly half, you can actually have Carberry down as a centre fullback.
Do you think the Robbie Henshaw experiment to try and play him fullback wasn't actually about him playing fullback, but it was about him being a reserve in the World Cup fullback? That then suddenly you don't have to pick a second fullback.
I don't think so. I think genuinely
he wanted to get.
And I thought it could add something different, given Rob Kearney's been incredible for so long and been so consistent and been written off a few times and then keeps bouncing back and delivers. And I think he will still be a really important part of a World Cup squad. I think the thinking was, okay, try and stretch the depth a little bit there and look at an option of having Ringrose, Aki and Henshaw on the field all at the same time. They're all individually, they're all brilliant players and they're brilliant footballers and they have massive strengths in attack and defence. And I think the idea was to try and have them on the field and maybe have something different with Robbie Henshaw maybe hitting the line. And
let me tell everybody who was in your squad initially. So it was Rob Kearney, Jordan Larmour, Keith Earls, Jacob Stockdale, Andrew Conway. It was Ringrose, Aki and Henshaw. You also had room for Chris Farrell. And then you'd only 2 out half, Sexton and Carberry, with Conor Murray, Kieran Marmion and Cooney as a third scrum half, who I guess is also your third out half, right? Cooney is.
Yeah.
Now, is Andrew Conway, he's on the bubble? He's on the cup bubble?
Yeah, he's on the periphery, and I think he's delivered for Joe though before when he's got the opportunity. Very unlucky last year in Australia when he got that hip injury when he scored in the corner.
Yeah.
And
he's brilliant. He just needs game time.
It's game time and consistency. I think so. Most of the other guys that have picked it have gone for just 5 in the back 3, and a lot of them have gone for just 3 centres and brought an extra fly half. I've put 4 centres in there because I just think Ringrose, Aki, Henshaw and Farrell are just too good to leave someone. Like, obviously the one that's probably 4th there in that pecking order is Chris Farrell, but I just think he's too good to leave out.
Schmidt loves him.
Yeah, you can play him as a 12. Ringrose can easily slip on to be a winger, very easily. Now, you know, Henshaw could be playing the wing. I know you're doing a bit of mix and matching there, but I just think bringing the 4 centres is bringing power and strength there as well.
So you could bring your 4 centres.
And then you're bringing 2 fly halves.
Or you could bring your 4 centres and 4 back 4, and Henshaw is cover for...
And Conway misses out then.
Yeah, and then you get your third out half if you want it.
Yeah, I don't think it just depends how the warm-ups go. I think an area of concern is the full-back position. So if Rob Kearney doesn't play, if he got injured or picked up an injury, I think Larmour or Conway will go back there, and Conway's better in the air.
Yeah. Wouldn't you like to see Joey Carberry there? Wouldn't you like to see that?
Yeah, as a possibility, yeah.
Like,
yeah, and
so
it could very easily happen, Jerry, you know.
Does that make it easier then to leave Conway out? If you do actually believe in Carberry fullback, if your theory is true that Robbie Henshaw could play back there?
I think I wouldn't leave someone at home to do it as a possibility.
You have to be sure.
Yeah, you have to be sure. So, like Jordan Larmour played against Italy in November and there was issues under the high ball. I think he's going to get a lot better at those.
Yeah.
I think he's an incredible player who
it's
can
a World
change
Cup,
a
you
game.
can't be having those doubts in there.
Yeah, and you know, if you play England or if you play Scotland, they're going to target Ireland in the air like that in the first game. If a Rob Kearney wasn't there, they're going to kick every single chance. They're going to kick the ball down. So, listen, you're splitting hairs with a lot of these guys. This is the kind of group I picked based on what we've seen the last 2 years, really, 2 to 3 years, and there's going to be no bolters really. You know, Will Addison was someone I had down as a bolter in September. John Klein could be a bolter if there was an injury in the second row, but I don't, you know, he could potentially, you know, you've James Ryan, Toner Henderson as the second rows, and I have Ty Byrne as a back row second row option, because I think I went to World Cups before in that position, and I just think it gives him that versatility. So there's not many.
The props.
Like Luke McGrath's, it's so unfair if it happens, and it could happen, it may not happen. But Luke McGrath is someone who's could easily start for Ireland and be brilliant with Johnny Sexton, his partnership there. And
does that give him...
He may not make it because of Cooney's versatility and his goal-kicking ability and his ability to play as a 10.
Do you think Marmion is nailed on as second choice?
I think so, but he's got to play.
Now, Conor Murray 10, Luke McGrath 8, John Cooney 7, Kieran Marmion 6. So he would have Luke McGrath guaranteed, and then Cooney gets in as your third out half or not if you're bringing 3.
Yeah, so look, Marmion hasn't played a lot of rugby with the injury and stuff, so there's every chance that Andy is right there in what he's saying. So again, it's just, I just think sometimes Joe goes back to guys who've delivered before. And
he does,
when I think of Marmion, I just think that English game in Dublin where our backs were to the wall and we beat them, and he was on the wing against Australia a few years ago as well. I remember when they're hanging on.
Is Andrew Porter still the number 1 backup to Tadhg Furlong, or did that just, because of injuries, that disappeared over the last couple of months?
Because of injuries, I think. I probably think so, but he's got to get really fit now for the summer, you know. There's a real, like John Ryan has delivered, and he's a real experience there now and has probably jumped ahead of Andrew Porter for a few of those games. So Porter's got get really fit, and you know, he bulldozed his way onto the scene last year with Ireland and was very successful. Has had injuries this year and stuff, so he's got to really you know, grab hold of pre-season and get really fit as well.
It's so basically looking at the forwards again, just trying to get my head around it, just trying to think who's out. So if you just stick with the kind of back rows here, if we throw Ian Henderson and Tadhg Byrne in there, then you've got Peter O'Mahony, Sean O'Brien, Dan Levy, CJ Stander and Jack Conan, obviously 2 of them straight away out. Is it Van der Fleer and Jordy Murphy that are straight in for them, and would you stick with the rest?
Yeah, I think it's Van der Fleer and Jordy Murphy are in with them, and I think Tommy Donnell is going to have a real say in that back row as well.
But who does he get in instead of, if he plays out of his skin, Tadhg Byrne?
Yeah, because Jordy Murphy can play 8 or 6 as well, so he may, you know, but I don't know if you're going to...
3 second rows isn't a lot for a whole tournament, is it?
No, it's not.
Like that's
where, you know, if Klein goes well in the pre-season, I know some people may not agree with me, I think he's going to play and he's going to learn an awful lot from being in that environment and being with Simon Easterby and Joe Schmidt's squad. So I think Jack McGrath's under pressure, you know, given where he's been, and Dave Kilcoyne has been ahead of him in the Six Nations. So I think Dave Kilcoyne is the front runner there. Someone like Jack McGrath's got to kind of chase that loosehead spot down, because I think there'll only be 2 looseheads brought.
This is really...
Ultan Delan is another player.
Yeah.
You know, he could go out in pre-season and just and really kind of grasp the imagination and make a real impact. But I think the likes of Ultan Delan would be going after Tadhg Byrne's that position of the 4th second row, because I think unless something drastically goes wrong, James Ryan, Devin Toner and Ian Henderson are going to be there as our second rows. Yeah,
so like James Ryan can obviously play every minute of every game and be as good at the start, and that has been kind of the hallmark of his very short but brilliant career. Do you want him to play every minute of every game in the World Cup, or do you actually not want him to play in the games where you think this is done and dusted, so that he can have a massive impact?
Yeah, and do you know why I'm talking about Klein? Really, because you could end up with a South Africa and the physicality, and I just thought when we went to Wales, James Ryan and Tadhg Byrne, as brilliant as both of them are, they're not kind of enforcers, they're not bruisers. And I've always said this about second rows. Ideally, you want to try and have one kind of dogged, physical, aggressive guy who yeah, I know but Henderson's still a very much a footballer who travels around a lot and wants the ball in his hand. I'm a bit old school when I'm thinking about the second rows, you know, that you have the best combinations ever. Well, Donncha O'Callaghan and Paul O'Connell. Donncha was that kind of bruiser and who just hit ruck after ruck after ruck. Backy's both are the same, you know, just that bit of real steel who busts up a middle of a maul, who's just aggressive and
Brad Thorne.
Yeah, and for sure, just makes those hard carries that, you know, Henderson, of course, to have the ability to have 2 athletic second rows helps as well, you know, and modern rugby has changed a little bit. And there was a little bit of vulnerability about the way we were manhandled a little bit at times in the Six Nations this year. And can they respond to that? For sure. Toner, Henderson, James Ryan, very physical players. But just part of me is thinking you could do with one big bruiser in there who you just play for the first 50 minutes, who
Delan is super athletic,
like a Quinn Roux type scenario as well.
Yeah, he loved Quinn Roux, and yet here we are, and there's no real talk of him being in this. Delan has a bit of that though, right? Although he is super athletic.
Yeah, he's very athletic, yeah.
But he is also unbelievably strong.
Physical, and strong and powerful. But you just think if you were playing South Africa, England, New Zealand, that we beat New Zealand obviously in Dublin with Ryan and Henderson and Toner as well, you know. So it may not happen, but I think he'll probably ruffle a few feathers over the summer in training, and that's exactly what you want.
I'm just looking up. Delan is only 26 this November, so like he has another 10 years hopefully playing international rugby, and hopefully this is the stage of his career where he starts to mature. So he's obviously going to be devastated if he doesn't make it, but you know, we wouldn't be too surprised if he didn't make it at this stage. Delan.
Yeah, it's just how it just shows how competitive it is. You know, there's a lot of good players, and I don't know if there's going to be any real surprises there. You know, I don't think there is. And I think that's exactly what you want, really, in a sense. That when I say you don't want any surprises, but you're kind of building for a World Cup squad, and the building blocks have been put in place in the last couple of years, in that mid-cycle, if you like.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like
you'd love something different, maybe.
Well, like Toby Faletau comes into that team that beat us in the quarterfinals, and he came from nowhere, and there was such a dynamic presence to him. Now we had Conor Murray in the same World Cup, and that added something to us. We're like, ooh, what's going to happen here?
Predictability is an issue here a little bit.
And the tape that everybody's going to have.
That's why I know I keep kind of labouring on the point about pre-season. They've got to develop something a little bit more dynamic or different because of, you know, what's brought us so far and great success. I think we need to, and Joe, look, I really believe that he can find a little bit of point of difference here in the attack going forward, and that's what they have to do. Because
they do, but who's going to do that, right? Like, where's the evidence that it's going to happen beyond new players?
Yeah, okay, but look, there's enough of good players in that group.
Stick Joey Carberry in the team is what I'm saying.
Yeah, stick Carberry in the team, stick Larmour in the team, but you know, it's horse for courses as well. You know what I mean? World Cup is about just. I think come the quarterfinals, you're not going to see this open, expansive scenario against Scotland. I think if we get to quarterfinals, you might need to have something different.
Yeah.
In the latter stages of the tournament.
Especially against South Africa, right? Because like we haven't been talking enough about how good South Africa have become under
incredibly good
in the last 18 months.
Erasmus, and he'll know the Irish players inside out, and he'll know their traits. And we're assuming it'll be South Africa. It could be New Zealand. You know, South Africa won't fear
Maybe
New Zealand.
Maybe that's the only time to get New Zealand. If we're ever going to beat them in the World Cup, it's going to be the quarterfinals. It won't be in the final, right? Isn't that like? Yeah. I don't know. This is
I'd rather
clutching at straws
later in the tournament.
Yeah, because at least we've reached later in the tournament.
We've got to semi-final, but look, it's just going to go on and on, Ger, isn't it? About this semi-final scenario,
forever and ever,
and hopefully we can get there. But look,
we're the Mayo footballers.
It's you never know. I'd love to see someone out of that group kind of take hold and jump out of the pack.
We should talk about the under-20s and the under-20 World Cup. One of the things that happens in the under-20s World Cup is that new laws are trialled and a new way of refereeing is trialled. And then
I think it's just a different framework around the high tackle, and there was a lot more emphasis now. They brought in a sanctioned scenario where you can get warnings after the game, and you pick up a couple of warnings, you get a yellow card, and I think it's you can miss a game or you can get suspended, and I think World Rugby have done a fantastic job with this. Now, I've watched a lot of the under-20s games, and we've seen a lot of high shots. England had 3 yellow cards last night. Again, they had disciplinary issues in the first game. The last one should have been a red. It was direct contact to the face area. And this is, like, people criticise World Rugby about, you know, and rugby in general, but I think they're trying to implement not changes to the law, it's just more emphasis on implementing it in a more stringent way, and that's what they've done at the Under-20s World Cup. So there's been a lot of things that, you know, seatbelt tackles that probably would have been let go, and they've been picked up, and they've been picked up after the games, and players have been given this off-field sanction.
Yeah.
So I think I counted, I was trying to find stats this morning there for a number of cards. I got to somewhere in the number of matches, there's 26 or 27 cards between reds and yellows for a tournament that's, we're literally just coming to the end this week, so it's been 2.5 weeks and we've 26 cards. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So there maybe be some frustration, people watching the game.
Does this mean we're going to see this in the World Cup, or is it doesn't get introduced until after this tournament?
I don't think there'll be, there won't be this sanction scenario, off-field sanction, but it's been trialled here and rightly so. And I looked at some of these tackles and I went, oh, like, God, that there's no intent there, and thinking let it go, and it's very harsh on the player. But I think we're going to have to live through this for a little while to change the behaviours. Like, some of the tackles are genuinely guys committing. Player drops, he drops, and there's a shoulder into the chin or the neck area, and it's completely non-intentional. But I think what the defensive player in changing behaviours is now going to have to do, and going to have to do it going forward, is just swallow up the tackle rather than trying to put force in it. We saw one against New Zealand and South Africa last week, and it wasn't picked up. It should have been a red card. It was a vicious force off the side of a breakdown on the scrum half as he was passing the ball. We saw a red card last night, Wales against, actually I'm not sure if they even gave the red, but there was another vicious tackle where the fullback, the Welsh fullback, catches it, and New Zealander comes straight through. Now he dips down to sidestep him, and it's straight at the neck. So we've seen a lot of them, and they've been highlighted a lot more. So I think it's a good thing, and I think behaviours need to change going forward around that to protect the player. And
the other aspect of this is that it will actually improve the game, because the attacker will have a split second more to pass the ball. So instead of getting hit straight away, the defender waits a second just to make sure he's not going to go down too low, which gives the time for the offload, which has a knock-on impact, I think, of improving the game again.
Well, you know, and again, it's just changing that technique of diving at their feet, taking the legs out, and someone trying to wrap that player to stop the offload rather than to try and take their head off.
Which was initially what the game was supposed to be about, right? Tackle low.
So if I tackle you now, Jared, but low, Eoin is then coming in with ferocity to try and dislodge the ball and really knock you backwards. He now has to change that scenario, and so he can't launch out of the air and try and bust you with the shoulder. His intention is to hit you somewhere in midriff and try and dislodge the ball or knock you backwards. He now has to change his mentality, because if you move, and these are the mitigating factors, and the referee last night in the English game was very good. In fairness, they've been told, see if there's any mitigating factors. So if there's a mitigating factor of a player dipping, and we've seen that potentially some of these cards at the Under-20s World Cup could have been red, and probably letter of the law were red, but then looking at the mitigating factor of the player dipping changes that really. So I think it's been a good thing. They're bruised and battered. I think what started out as an incredible tournament beating
Ireland lost in the last minute, sorry, we didn't mention that.
A late try. They were 23-13 down. They got 2 tries very quickly, bring the score to 23-all, and then right at the end of the game, England scored and kind of created heartbreak for him. That was Brian Deeney's try. He blocked.
What colour jerseys are England wearing there?
It's kind of...
Pardon me, will I puke? Is that black?
Black, yeah.
Oh, come on.
The conditions were horrendous, but look, I think they can still take a lot out of this. They're going to be playing New Zealand now for a 7-place playoff, which is important with the seedings for next year's tournament. I think potentially there's been very little between a lot of the teams here, and Ireland, if they didn't get all those injuries and the sending off against Australia, possibly could have beaten Australia, could have been in the semi-finals. I know, it could have been.
And look, these tournaments aren't... I know we still talk about the under-20 team that won the World Cup that time, O'Driscoll's team, and was Paddy Wallace in that team?
Yeah.
And we should stop talking about those teams. The point of these tournaments is for the tournament mentality to be born, and the best players to come through, as opposed to trying to win them.
And this group have beaten England twice, 6 Nations World Cup, probably could have beaten them last night as well, or could have got it, probably should have got it into extra time. They've had a load of injuries. It's been really attritional, you know, the amount of games in a couple of weeks, and they've had, just a lot of injuries have knocked them back. So I think there's a lot of positives to take out of that, that World Cup.
Good stuff, Alan. Thanks for joining us.